Welcome in to this Press Box Presents Stand the Fan on Zoom with Ross Grimsley. And we are proud that PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com present this. We record these each and every Monday night, and they are released on our website on Tuesday. Hopefully next week we're going to start something new, Ross. We're going to go to Facebook Live immediately at the start of these. And when we end, when I say good night, we won't be able to talk. I'll be hitting end and we'll be just off.
Well, that'll be cool.
First of all, welcome back in town. I know you had somebody that was very near and dear to you that passed away, and you were in Memphis, Tennessee for a funeral last week. Why don't you tell our viewers who you were going to pay your respects to?
Yeah, I got John Clayton. He was a high school basketball coach of mine that was very close to a lot of us, and down in Memphis, and we played in high school. And he was very instrumental, obviously, with my dad, to help me with my baseball career. Some of the things he instilled in all of us, I was able to take into baseball. It was very special, and it helped me, in that regard. Not
sort of more the mental aspects of how to approach playing.
Well, we played in front of a lot of people in Memphis at the time, and we were from North Memphis, and we weren't we were kind of a low income type area, but we had a lot of we were a pretty good team, and kind of underdogs all the time, but we played very well due to being taught, the correct way to do things. And it was very special. Like I said, he really helped. I was able to take what I learned in basketball into baseball, certain mental things, and that really was a big help to me. So he was very special. It was very, very, very tough.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry for your loss because I know he was very special to you. Losing two people, you lost your mother-in-law about 3-4 weeks ago. Losing them in that close proximity, but that's part and parcel of getting older, like you and I are, Ross.
Where were you? Hold
on. Hey, I just wanted to let everybody know you and I did the first show together, just the two of us experimenting with this, and then we endeavored to have a guest every week, and we've done that every week since. But tonight, our guest was supposed to be Norfolk Tides manager Gary Kendall, who will be acting, as I understand it, Ross, as sort of the coordinator of field activities for the taxi squad that will start to practice over the next couple of days.
Right. Now, he's, I talked to him. He got his information, I think, today or yesterday, where he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to do, and waiting for a little more information. It's just like everything that's happening in baseball now. It's just the logistics and who goes where and what does what and what have you. So it's a little confusing, but trying to get all this together has been kind of tough for everybody, and they're just kind of playing it by ear. You get guys opting out every day, so that's a concern. But Kendall's a guy that is going to be in charge of their taxi squad and do some work with them, and if this does happen. So it'd be great to talk to him and get an inside view of what's going on from his
and just so our viewers know, he was due to be on, and he is in the midst of a power failure with this thunderstorm activity. So he may still join us. If not, you and I are going to run through a couple things. First of all, at 6 o'clock tonight, MLB released the schedule finally. And it's a 60-game schedule for all the teams, 66 days. The Orioles will play every single game in the Eastern time zone, just like the Cubs will play everything in the Central time zone, and the West Coast teams will play on the West Coast. But the Orioles will open in Boston starting on July the 24th, which is a Friday. You'll be able to watch every single game on Masson. Listen to every game on 105.7 The Fan. The Orioles will have their first homestand of the year. It's an 8-game homestand on the 29th of July. They'll play the Marlins 2 games, the Rays 3, the Yankees 3. At this time, they are anticipating no fans for any games, but one game to circle that you'll want to watch is the game on September the 6th at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The New York Yankees will be in town, and that will mark, and it's hard to believe, Ross, it will mark the 25th anniversary
That's amazing.
since Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's streak.
Where did time go, buddy?
Yeah, I was 43 years old. I was a young adult. You know, now I'm approaching geezerhood. You know, but anyway, any thoughts that you have on the schedule, Ross, or it's pretty matter of factly?
You know, it's obviously they play their division 40 times. You know, Boston, New York, Toronto, Tampa Bay. And it's, you know, on the surface, it looks like it's a pretty tough schedule, but there's so many people are in the same boat as far as, you know, practicing. They can't practice as a group. Basically, they have to come out. So the continuity is going to be affected. I think working on, you know, bunt plays, PFP, that type of thing is going to take its toll. And especially now in the 60 games, it's a short sprint, basically. So they're going to be playing, might see a little bit more small ball played, you know, moving runners over, which is something that has went by the wayside over the last few years due to the way the game's played. But now you're going to see guys do some things. But, you know, with the people that are opting out now, and Markakis was another guy today that recently opted out. And I think we're going to see more guys do that due to the fact that they just don't know what's going on with the virus, and they have families. They may have people with underlying health issues that could be a problem for them.
Yeah. You know, Ross, most of the time that we've heard celebrities in the world of sports, like Sean Payton, I think, the coach of the New Orleans Saints, was the first big name person I heard. But most of the time we've heard, well, he's doing well. It was a mild case, or when they announced who it was, he's over it now.
Right.
With Freddie Freeman becomes the first baseball player or first professional athlete that I heard where his wife said this thing hit him like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I tell you, it affects everybody different. It constantly seems to be, you know, changing as it keeps going on and mutating into other forms of the virus. So it's hard to tell. And with the family, and like I said, if you've got some issues, especially you see coaches are being eliminated, they're telling them they can't be a part of it, you know, and that really affects everybody, I think. And the way they got the clubhouse is set up, where you got the pitchers in one area, you got the players in another area, you got it coming out in shifts. I mean, it's, again, and I said it in the past, you know, the logistics are really getting tough. And even now, with the situation they had today where several teams couldn't practice.
Because their testing results hadn't come back yet.
Right. And that is really a big problem right there. I think a lot of this could have been taken care of, you know, months ago or a month ago or something like that. But, you know, it wasn't. And so now will the season, you've got to hope baseball has really, you know, a chance to really present the American pastime to the people, you know, now. And with a declining fan base that they have, here was a chance to get a jump on all the other professional sports and do something, get this settled. And, you know, it's a game that's becoming less viewed by people. And obviously going to the park is not really a big thing anymore. And baseball's they're at a particular time, a crossroads, basically, that, you know, some things are going to have to change. And I'm not a real big fan of the commissioner. You know, say what you want about him, but he's a guy that I don't think has a baseball background, basically. You know, he's just baseball and how it goes. And this could have been, if you would have stuck both the Major League Baseball and the Players Association, you would have stuck them in a room and go, get this thing done right now. And don't come out till it's done. But he's been very soft on stuff. You know, the Astros and everything, he's kind of soft on that. It could have made it tougher. But that's a problem, I think, that needs to be rectified. But things could have been done a little bit different, I think. But it's
I would have liked to have seen that they would have allowed themselves more time to work on these protocols rather than, and I'm not saying they did no work on them while the negotiations were going on. but it looks like that was priority number one. And really, I think you and I are in agreement. Priority number one should have been, let's assume we're going to get this done over like a 2 or 3 day period. Let's really work on these protocols and make sure the testing's going to work. I heard Casey Stern today on Sirius radio saying he thinks Major League Baseball should not be having games in 30 cities, that they should have made a couple. He's not saying they would have played in one bubble, but he's sort of saying in each region you would have had 2 or 3 parks that would have housed all the games. And I don't think he's really wrong on that. I don't know that the Orioles and their fans are served a better product or serve the purposes of anything that they play 30 games in Camden Yards and 30 games in 7 other stadiums. You know, I think they could have kept that all in 3 or 4 stadiums.
Well, I mean, and you look at it now, it's probably something you would think it would be really good now with all the other stuff that's going on. I mean, now you got these big cities are having some issues, and now you take safety again into consideration for the players, traveling from here to there, being at the parks, you know, which is probably, the parks are pretty safe, I would think. But still, I mean, you're putting guys in harm's way, and that has to be really considered. So
let me ask you a question. And again, we're only in the first 3 or 4 days of players reporting. Like I heard Jake Odorizzi today, and he was talking about how brilliantly he thought certain aspects of the Twins. He was talking about, like, when we go to eat, when you leave the table, you got to put like a red cards and blue cards. It's blue if you're still eating, but if a red card is there, somebody's got to come over and disinfect the table again,
right?
Because that means somebody left the table. Yeah. And he said it was really brilliantly conceived. Are you and I feel the same way you are, think we're both having a little bit of a sinking feeling about whether this can really be pulled off. Is it possible that we're just being sort of negative at the first 3 or 4 days, and they might get their act together over the next week or 10 days?
No, I would, you know, we've always talked about it, the logistics of this thing, you know, and there's so much. I mean, the protocol they put together is 100 pages.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they have been working on this, but 100 pages, it's going to take you a while to read all that, to know, you know, if I can go here, can I touch that? Can I play here? You know, can I do this or that? I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and you know, is there going to be a penalty for it if you don't do some of the stuff? And I didn't realize I couldn't get within so many feet of this guy at this particular time. I can't throw the ball around the infield. How do you warm up in the bullpen? I mean, there's so many things that are coming into play now, which you kind of scratch your head and you go, wait a minute, this is really tough. And in the clubhouse, or clubhouses, I mean, it seems like there's a couple of clubhouses.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's, I mean, it is really a head scratcher when it comes to this stuff.
So if I had a sort of the proverbial gun to your head right now, and we started off 2 weeks ago thinking, well, they're going to play this 60-game schedule, 100% they're going to get this done. Where is Ross Grimsley now? Are you 50-50 that they'll get it accomplished? Will it even start, or do you think the problem might come 2 or 3 weeks into this thing?
You know, I'm really, it seems like the closer they get to playing, the more problems pop up.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen, you know, and they kind of knew it, but now they're seeing some things and they go, wait a minute now. I mean, we get some guys being coming down with the virus. You got some guys opting out. I mean, the game's going to be played. It's not going to be the baseball we've seen. It's not going to be the Major League Baseball we've seen in the past. Now, you take that into consideration, then you go, okay, I read where I think the third baseman, what's his name with the Orioles?
Rio Ruiz.
Rio Ruiz. He goes, well, we could be ready in a week, 2 weeks. Really? I mean, it's one thing to work out, you know, before the season. And granted, the one good thing is hot weather. You can do that. Before, you know, spring training was usually cold. We worked indoors. But these guys, you can work out all you want. As soon as you get around your peers, as soon as you get in these games, you're going to give that little bit extra. And you're going to be, you might not have been sore ever when you was working out, but you're going to be sore, I guarantee you, when you start doing that. Then
so you're predicting, forget COVID right now for a second, you're predicting there's going to be a lot of injuries.
I think there'll be, I mean, if the way they're playing the game now,
yeah.
And things that they don't do and things they do, I think there's a chance there could be some very big problems with pitchers, with running the way they, I mean, just the way they do some things now. I mean, we've seen injuries in the past, and this is when they had the full spring training. But I think the pitchers, when they, especially the young guys, I think the older guys will have an idea what they can do and can't do. But this is a power game now, and the guys rear back, throw hard as they can, throw the breaking balls as hard as they can. That's an injury waiting to happen. So I think you may see injuries there, along with the possibility you get some guys come down with COVID. Some other guys are going to get it.
Yep.
So what happens now? And who are you going to bring up? That's another thing. I mean, you have, I think you have your taxi squad possibly, but are your prospects going to be there? Are they going to be, working out there?
I would think with the Orioles that Ryan Mountcastle and Zach Lowther and Dean Kramer will be on that taxi squad. I just wonder if 60 is enough.
Really?
There's no real procedure that would allow you to say, hey, we've lost 5 guys by COVID, another 5 by injury. We'd like to get some more people on our taxi squad. I don't know that they have a provision to allow you to do that at a certain point in time.
Who are they going to get that's ready to,
That's exactly right. That's
unless
exactly
you're getting somebody from another organization. But it can be done, but it's going to be really tough.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit. We mentioned before that Nick Markakis opted out today. And I can't help but believe that the deciding factor for Nick, who, by the way, a couple people have pointed out to me, he's got like 2,345 hits.
Yeah.
So he needs like 655 hits. Missing 60 games at this point in his career could end up costing him 3,000 hits.
Exactly.
But I can't believe that he didn't have an emotional conversation with Freddie Freeman. And again, let's remember, Nick signed that big contract at $11 million a year with the Braves, but this year was his first year that he signed, I think, like about a $5 million one-year contract to play with the Braves, which means he may not even be, believe me, I don't say this easily, he might only be missing $1.7 million. So for a guy who's got 60 or 70 million that he's earned in his career, was this possibility of getting sick worth it for him and his family? And he clearly decided that it was not worth it.
Sure. I think, obviously the older guys are going to have, they got money saved up, obviously, they should. The younger guys they got 2 things going for them. They need the money.
Yep.
And the fact that you're young, you're invincible. So I can't get this. If I do, it's not gonna bother me too bad. That's how you. And I try to put myself. What would I do back then, if this happened?
And I think the deciding factor would have been at what point in your 14-year career, if it's in the first 5 to 7 years, you probably would be playing.
But
if it was in 11 to 14, you would have probably said, "Hey, I'm only getting paid this percentage. I'm a little older now. Is it worth it?"
Yeah, and you got a family.
Yeah.
You got a family, and you don't want to take a chance on, and especially if you have a child with any type of, medical problem, you don't want to subject them to it. And that's pretty scary. And that's not even a discussion right there as far as I'm concerned. I've got somebody in my family that's ill, and this is out, and you got a chance to pass it on. No.
You're not going to play. You're not going to play. And you can understand. I mean, we've heard Mike Trout, by the way, say that he's in camp right now, but he's not sure he's staying.
Right.
His wife is expecting their first child. And, I'm not taking that lightly. And I'm not taking a guy like David Price lightly that he just doesn't think it's worth it for him to play. And he's apparently, Ross, here's a kicker, like with Markakis, he might be giving up 1.7 to 2 million. David Price was due to make $12 million this year
Right.
on his prorated amount, which meant if he started 12 games, that's $1 million a start that he's giving up for his conviction that this is not worth it to him.
I mean, this scares some people. It really does. It's a scary thing. And like I said before, it's mutated into something else, and it's starting to affect younger people now.
Yeah.
So you got to take that into consideration if it's affecting younger people. But yeah, Buster Posey's another guy that's considering. He's not sure what to do. So
he says he's in camp now, but he hasn't decided. You know.
They're waiting to see. They're going to work out and do and wait to see what happens and then make that decision. But I mean, that's why you asked me how I feel about it. It's.
So what percentage are you right now that they'll get game number 1 played?
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, but if it keeps moving where guys keep opting out, where guys keep going, no, I can't do this. I'm going to say, there's a chance they're going to have to, and the testing, what's happened with that's all you need now is to screw that up.
Yeah, that's a very crucial factor in all this right now.
Exactly. But, like we said, the coaches, they can't, some of them have been, they didn't even get the opportunity to opt out. They just told them you're not going to be able to do anything, but they're getting paid. And they'll do something, probably from a distance scouting wise or something.
Well, Mike Rizzo today, the Nationals and I believe the Astros and I think Oakland all had to cancel their practices because their testing results did not come back in time. And a couple teams yesterday, Ross, I forget which teams, their testers didn't even show up to administer the tests. Yeah. So Mike Rizzo sent the commissioner a pretty strong letter saying, unless we have timely and trusted testing, this is way too dangerous for everybody.
And the commissioner sent it back to him. Quit saying negative things about the testing.
Oh, jeez,
come on.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, it is what it is.
Hey, let's in the remaining time we have, and again, the reason Gary Kendall's not joining us tonight is he's without power. And if suddenly he joins us, we'll extend our time a little bit.
Yeah.
But Ross, in the remaining time, I want you to put on the hat that you wore as a minor league pitching coach for how many years total? 20 years total?
Oh, it was 31.
31.
31.
Okay.
Riding buses and getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get on a plane.
and you were in some lower level, but you were also in AA and AAA at times, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you know every level of player development that is necessary. Now, this is not an Oriole-based question. Of course, we understand that a team that's putting all their eggs in the development basket, this is terrible for a team like the Orioles to have a lot of players, important players to the future, miss a season of development. Can you talk to that and give our viewers a little bit of an idea how some of these players like Grayson Rodriguez, DL Hall, who they may not want to be at the taxi squad level because they won't want them to play in the major leagues this year, but what happens to the lost player development time?
Yeah, well, they've cut out no minor league games this year, so that's really that's going to affect a lot of guys. And even with I think what's going to be a savior is the Arizona Fall League and possibly a league in Florida. If
I haven't heard as much about those, Ross, as the spikes in the coronavirus in those two states have hit.
Really. But that's the only thing. They said something about an extended Arizona Fall League, which would be great for the players. But what happens is some of your newly signed players. I mean, this is an introductory time for them in professional baseball to see what goes on. And Rutschman, the catcher last year, he struggled a couple places and then finally got his feet planted on the ground a little bit and did pretty good, I think, in Aberdeen, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a tough time, pitching wise, especially. Pitching against competition, and then all of a sudden you can't pitch, and now they're going to have inter-squad games, and pitching inter-squad games you get your work in, but it's just not the same as pitching against an opposing team, another organization. And that's really important for their development. But this went from a 5-year rebuild. Then last year they said it's going to be 5 years again, and now with this it's going to be 5 more years. So that 5-year went to 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. I mean, the guys miss out on, and they're cutting back supposedly on teams. You're going to have less teams. So, I mean, these prospects, they have to play against somebody, and it's going to be a tough thing. The other thing is, and I was listening to a morning show, talking about, every organization should cut a minor league team out. And I go, well, that sounds logical, but I mean, and then they go, the 30-year-old guys at the AAA level, you need to get rid of them. So I was on the way to play golf, and I'm going, I gotta stop the car and text and explain something to these guys, and I did. And I said, you got to understand something, at different levels of minor league ball, some guys aren't ready to play advanced A ball, but they can play A ball. Right. Some guys are in rookie ball, and some guys can jump. You have to have people that can recognize that, because you don't want to put a guy somewhere where he's going to be totally overmatched. And if he is, you move him back a little bit. So, I mean, that's important right there. But the other thing is,
I think, go ahead, but I think there's this notion that if you got 150 players in your minor leagues, that right now, I think people are saying there's 50 too many. They're never going to make the major leagues. But talk a little bit about how important, they may never make the major leagues, but if they're not there, you don't fill the teams out.
No.
That the players need to make the steps up.
Somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. But my point with the 30-year-old guys at the AAA level who are 4A players, they go, you need to get rid of those guys. I go, wait a minute. And I was playing golf with Kenny Singleton, and I told him that story. And we said, this is the reason that they don't. And practically word for word, we both said it at the same time. And what happens, these 30-year-old guys, when a guy gets hurt in the big leagues, they need to call somebody up. Well, they're not usually going to call a prospect up unless he's ready.
Well, they don't want the economic situation
they don't want
to clock starting.
They don't want to push it. No, they don't want to put him in a position to fail. When you can take a 4A guy, a 30-year-old, go up, who can play in the big leagues, but he can't play. He can spell a guy for a week, 2 weeks at the most. They're worth their weight in gold by being able to do that. When you bring a younger kid up there that's not going to, you take a chance on him being just totally overmatched and ruined. Seen it before, pitching wise, but you got to be careful doing that. That's why those guys are important. But what happens? I mean, if you expose some of these guys too quick to too high a level, they're done. You lose them. But you got to have boots on the ground to see these guys. You got to know their personalities and how they mesh with the other players, how they play together, and that's very important. That's one of the things in the minor leagues. I was there 31 years, and like I said, I rode the buses. The travel now is completely different than it was back in 1984. We got buses now with big screen TVs. 2 smaller ones. They got internet. They got sleepers. So it's not as bad as, they make it sound like when I played, we loaded the plane. When I was in Indianapolis, we wore wool red blazers. We loaded a DC-3 ourselves. So it was 1,000 degrees. We're sweating bullets. But, you learn as a player in the minor leagues, you learn to play, after traveling 12 hours, you learn to play tired. You learn to play when you're sore. The togetherness of a minor league team is something you never forget, because you're all in basically the same boat. But it means a lot. The crummy hotels you stay in, the service station food you eat late at night sometimes, it's a lot better now.
Yeah.
But it just makes you appreciate getting to the big leagues when you get there, or when you get to the next level. It's very, very important, I think. And doing away with it, cutting some of that, I don't think that's a good thing.
So before we get out of here this week, again, the key crux to this thing is all the teams are in the same boat.
Right.
The great prospects in baseball, will this deter them? Will this affect really good ball players and their ability to get the most out of their career? Or could this not backfire, but could it short circuit their chances of being what they could have been without this pandemic?
I don't think it's gonna, obviously it's a year off of your development,
Yeah.
and that's, I don't think they're gonna bring guys up in a 60 games, and they may, I don't know, it's hard to see what people are thinking. But yeah, it's definitely gonna hurt. And, and you hope they're able to do something instructional league. You hope that fall league. This is going to be big, and this is going to really, if they extend it and make it a little bit longer than normal. They didn't have one last year.
Yeah.
The Orioles didn't, and several teams didn't because they were whatever. The big thing now is rest. The guy, keep them off the field. It seems like keep them off the field, keep them rested. That way they can't get hurt. Now they're rested, but their fundamentals are awful. So it's all
right. Well, it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Again, I thank you. We're sorry we couldn't present you Gary Kendall tonight, but we'll get him on another time.
Sure.
Looks like we've got Tim Kirchin of ESPN next week. We're going to try and line him up. For Ross Grimsley, I'm Stan the Fan from PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. We thank you for tuning in, and this has been a PressBox Sports presentation. Ross, I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.